Hello everyone, my name is Hannah Grace Fletcher. I'm an aspiring author currently working on my very first novel project, Project AOS. Project AOS is a young adult, religious fantasy / science fiction novel, but in today's video we will be getting to my April TBR. So before I get into picking the April TBR reads, I wanted to go over the books that I did read in March. I did not finish the books that I picked out for March. So originally I picked out Left Behind, Different Seasons, and Mistborn. And I have only read part of Different Seasons. I read The Shawshank Redemption. I thought it was very well written and very good. As someone who cannot read horror, cannot read thriller, I really wanted to read some Stephen King. So get to read that but not having to be absolutely terrified is a plus, and I really admire Stephen King's writing. As for Mistborn and Left Behind, I still want to get to these books. I think that these could be the books that I just add on to the April TBR, but even though I didn't finish those, I read a ton of books. I just checked and I have read 20 books this year out of my 50 book goal in those 3 months, which is amazing. But I also want you to know that I am counting school books, not textbooks, but if I read like a book for class. My goal is to read 50 books personally. I'm adding my school books because I'm still reading them and I'm still analyzing them. But anyway, I read 8 of these 20 books that I've read this year in the month of March. So I have read a ton. Even though it has not been the books that I actually tried to finish, I have read a lot. The Screwtape letters, which I put on my February TBR, I actually got to finish that this month, which was amazing. So I've made a lot of progress. It just hasn't necessarily been in the areas that I tried to pick for March. But anyway, I just wanted to go over the books that I read for March first before we go to the April TBR. The first book that I read in March was Dealing with Dragons. This was one that I read for my young adult middle grade literature class, and it was absolutely amazing. I love this book. It is the first book in the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. It is a middle grade book. If you have not read this book or you have kids that are in middle grade, I highly recommend this book. I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars. It is about our main character, Cimarine, who is a princess, but she doesn't really want to be a princess. It's not something she desires. Her parents set up an arranged marriage with Fajardo, which she wants nothing to do with, but seeing that she can't really get out of it, she's kind of forced to make her own way and decides to become a dragon's princess. So instead of getting taken by the dragons like a typical princess, she goes to the dragon's lair and kind of like tells them, I will be your princess, will one of you make me your princess? And she works that way. Her dragon's name is Kazul, and I think it is just such a cute story, but it also says a lot about like the typical fairy tale narrative and like princesses and knights and dragons that don't fit into this fairy tale mold and kind of making their own way outside of that, and I think it was such an amazing read. The next book I read was When the Moon Was Ours. At first it wasn't really my cup of tea. It's magical realism, which I love magical realism, but I think I was just a bit confused at first, but I did end up liking it a lot. I think it was a very interesting narrative, like I said before, specifically on the fairy tale side. I also read this book for my class, and it is more of a young adult read, but I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read, this was a personal read, but it is also a middle grade book, which is Gregor and the Curse of the Warmbloods. If you've been keeping up with my reading here on this channel, I have been trying to get through the Underline Chronicles because it's written by Suzanne, who is also the author of The Hunger Games, and it is an absolutely amazing series. There are 5 books. This book was the 3rd one, so I am basically halfway through the series, and it was so good. Each book in this series is better than the last one. Like, it just keeps getting better and better, and I can't wait to see where this story goes. And I rated this a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was The Interesting Narrative of the Life of Olaudah Equiano. This was for a school class, and I thought it was very interesting. As a book, I had to rate it 3 out of 5 because it was difficult to get through, but I think that the message that it tells, it's very important. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. The next book I read was also for my young adult literature class. It was The Case of the Missing Moonstone. It's the Wollstonecraft Detective Agency book 1. I really liked this book, not as much as the other ones that I've read, but I still really enjoyed it, so I rated it a 3 out of 5 stars. It's basically a twist on historical fiction. It's about Ada Lovelace, who's known as the world's first computer program, and Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein. They're basically both young girls, and they go on these adventures together and form a detective agency. So it was definitely very interesting, not historically accurate, but still a very good read. And I rated that one a 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Charlotte Temple, and this was for another one of my classes. And this was a very interesting read. I didn't go in expecting to like it, but I honestly really enjoyed it for what it did for like seduction narratives during that time and writing about women being like taken away. I think it really said a lot and really was, I think it really fit well with the time and educating young ladies and warning them against certain men and certain situations. So I really thought it was a great read, and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Miss Quinces. This was also for my young adult literature class. It is a middle grade graphic novel, and I really liked the art style, and I also thought it really was able to occupy a space that I feel like not a lot of graphic novelists are in right now, and I rated it 3 out of 5 stars. And the last book I read was The Female Review. This was for another one of my classes, and I rated it 2 out of 5 stars. You think, Hannah, why would you rate it a 2? I want you guys to know that slowly over time, I'm kind of starting to rate things lower because I'm having more things to compare it to. 2 is not that I think this was a bad book. I thought it was extremely interesting. It's just, it was also a very hard read to absorb. I think it said a lot of interesting things, but especially when we get back into older books, I feel like they're not, people consume information and they consume stories different now. So the way that stories were told years ago isn't the same that they are now. It's like if you watch Pride and Prejudice and you read the book is written from like this third person perspective of a narrator telling the story, like telling them about the story. And I think a lot of books were written more so in that than more of a close perspective, which is more so what we prefer now. So that's why it's a 2 out of 5. I don't think it was bad. I really liked it. So hopefully I didn't blab too long about that, but those are the books that I read in the month of March. Didn't read my TBR, but I read a lot of books, and we will be transitioning March's TBR into April's TBR. I have a bunch of books on my shelf that I need to read, so I'm definitely going to try to get to those. But anyway, we are going to get to selecting my April TBR reads. 1 second. Okie dokie! The TBR jar. Infamous. Our first pick for the April TBR, and I think we're going to do 2 this month. I know I usually do 3, and I have OCD, but I kind of want to get to the books from last month, so we're only doing 2. For the first one, okie dokie, choose a book to reread. Okay, oops. Choose a book to reread. I'm going to have to think about this one for a good second. Oh my gosh, you guys, interjection. Wait, I never put this in my Goodreads, but I actually read another book this month, and that was Sunrise on the Reaping. It was absolutely excellent in obvious terms, obviously a 5 out of 5. It was so amazing. Anyway, I'm still trying to figure this out because I really don't know what I want to read. I know that I usually don't do this, but I think we're going to go back to this one. And I know that's kind of cheating, but I feel like I need to go back to this one because there's a lot of options. Like, I've been really wanting to reread Harry Potter and a bunch of stuff, but I'm not sure. We'll see. We're gonna go on and choose the next one. Okie dokie. Selection number 2. Choose a book published the year you were born. Oh my gosh, it's so funny because this is my birthday just happened. That's actually so funny. So this is perfect. So we're gonna have to find a 2004 book and a reread book. I will get back to you in probably like 5-10 minutes because these are hard ones. Okay, y'all. It's literally been 20 minutes of me staring at my computer trying to figure out what I want to read. So I think for choose a book to reread, I am going to read The Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis. I thought about starting at the beginning with The Horse and His Boy. Wait, no, The Magician's Nephew is first. Well, I thought about starting at the beginning, but like, I feel like after that point, I'm like, I have to read the whole thing. And I've already read the whole series, obviously, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader is truly my favorite. I think I talked about Eustace earlier and how much I love Eustace characters and characters like him, and so I really want to read that, and I think it's a great book. I really want to read Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Maybe I'll read The Silver Chair too, because I remember that one being good, and I think about that like on the daily. And then maybe even the last one too. I forgot what that one was called though, but I really want to reread, if it's not The Dawn Treader, something in the Chronicles of Narnia. And then for choose a book published the year you were born, this one was difficult. I like scrolled forever. I had to look up like lists of books in the year 2004, and I was like, I don't know what to read. I really don't know. But I think that I'm going to go with Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, because that was published in 2004. Let me make sure actually, because it would be terrible if it wasn't and then I picked it. Yes, it was published on September 8th, 2004. So I'm going to pick that one. I really wasn't sure. I was looking around, but I've heard really, really great things about this book. I know a lot of people, it's one of their favorites, and I think it sounds really, really cool. It's an alternative history set in 19th century England, around like the time of Napoleon, and there's magic involved. I don't know too much about it, but it sounds really, really cool. So that, and then the Chronicles of Narnia. I thought about Harry Potter, and I thought about rereading a Margaret Peterson Haddock's book because I love her, but I just think about Chronicles of Narnia on a daily, and I think it would be a really good read, especially because I'm writing religious fantasy, so I think it would be a really good book to read along with what I'm writing. But anyway, I'm so excited. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment down below if you enjoyed this video. I think things went very well. Leave a plant emoji because I got this lily plant for my birthday, and I think it's gonna be in like a lot of my backgrounds because I love a pop of green in the corner. Oh my gosh, I just realized you can see my trash can. Sorry, that's low-key so ugly. My bad. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below what you plan on reading in the month of April, what you guys chose, and yeah, I'm really excited for the next one. Bye!